I never went through any presentation without passing out.
Wow.
No joke. Passing out. Like in college, I can distinctly remember getting up there to do a presentation and I passed out on the ground and the teacher waited till I woke up and then she's, "You still got to do it." Sweaty and like just sitting in the chair like, "My name is Jennifer." Just miserable. And so to me, I actually started a podcast first, which is the first thing I did for that sole purpose of just getting over my fear.
So today's guest is Dr. Jennifer Roelands. She's a double board-certified OB-GYN, integrative medicine expert, and the founder of Precision Health MD. She's not only transforming women's health, but she's built a thriving brand online, launched multiple successful digital courses, and is showing physicians everywhere how to turn your expertise into impact. So if you're a doctor who wants to create content, build your brand, and figure out ways to make money doing it, then don't go anywhere. Welcome, Dr. Roelands.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
So the first question I have for you is that what is one thing that you wish other doctors knew about perimenopause?
And it's a journey. It's not a one-time thing. It's not like I think in medical school, we're taught these women walk through the door and like gumdrops fall and rainbows and like they've entered menopause. And it's not. It's a journey. And for some people, that's 4 years. Some people, it's 10 years. Some people hit it very quickly. And within a year, they're done with their period and they're in full-blown menopause. So it's really a journey and everybody's symptoms are very different. So it looks very different on different people. So I think it's really important for people to recognize, and especially physicians taking care of menopause women, that they have to help them evolve in this journey of perimenopause.
I imagine that's super important when you're communicating that to the patient as well, as being like, there's not a one-size-fits-all solution for this, and it needs to be really individualized and probably evolves and adapts along the way. Is that right?
Yeah, and of course it changes. I mean, there are things that you may be feeling now, and in 2 years might be very different. So you have to change your strategy. You have to evolve on how you're doing. And certainly, I think there are a lot of unusual symptoms of perimenopause. So just because someone doesn't say they have hot flashes or night sweats, it doesn't mean that they're not in perimenopause. I've had patients who presented with incredible itchy ears. I've had patients who developed autoimmune issues. I've had patients who had just different symptoms that don't fit in the box. And so it's like we think about this with heart attacks in women, right? We don't go, "Oh, they didn't clutch their chest and say an elephant was sitting on it." Like women have unusual symptoms of heart attack. And we still recognize the fact that they could still be having a heart attack just because it doesn't fit into an elephant sitting on my chest model.
Now, you have a YouTube channel that talks about a lot of these things within perimenopause and menopause, but what actually inspired you to start the channel?
It inspired me because I hear all the time women come in and say, "No one believes me. No one understands. I think that this is what's happening to me. And yet my physician doesn't recognize it. My husband thinks I'm going crazy. My friend said, 'Oh, menopause was a breeze.'" So I felt so much that I hear that all day with patients who felt like no one really gets me. And so if you give education saying, yeah, other women are feeling exactly the same way as you. Other women are going through this just like you, and you may not have access or may not have found the provider that works with you. So let me give you some solutions to help you in this journey so you don't feel alone.
And so are there any takeaways that you've learned now that you're sending and putting this information online? Have you found that it's been valuable to your audience that you're building?
Yeah, I mean, it's valuable for both them and me. I mean, for me, I'm getting over myself making videos. It's hard as a physician. We're trained so much to be restrained in what we say and to think about everything we say and to not be necessarily real with people. And so I talk about my perimenopause journey all the time. I'm like, yep, my kids think I'm a hot mess. Yep, I forgot the keys. Yep, my hair is falling out and I'm frustrated about it. Like I tell them like, you're not the only one going through this, I promise. From a patient education, I get a lot of comments, and obviously there's always going to be people who, whatever, they like to be negative anyway, but I find that patients really go, "Oh, I didn't know I should ask my provider about this," or "I didn't realize my provider told me I can't have HRT, but that doesn't seem to be what you're saying, so I probably need to get a second opinion." Or there's just a lot of like stories of patients who've had their life transformed when they figured out that there are solutions. You just have to find the right person to help you.
Yeah, I was checking out some of your videos, and what I really loved is how you were sharing your own journey. And This is something I talk about with physicians a lot, is that oftentimes they like to teach almost in a lecture style format and be like, here's the data, here's the case studies. And instead, what I have found is that it's much more effective to get your point across is when you start sharing either other people's story or even more importantly, your own story. And I think that's so cool. Has it been a challenge for you to feel like you as a working professional to get out and be a little bit vulnerable and share that story?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I have 4 teenagers at home. To be honest, they're the worst critics. They're the ones that are like, "Your hair didn't really look that good. That makeup, that lipstick is not so awesome, mom." And I could spend 2 hours getting ready and look Instagram ready and all this stuff, but that's not what I look like in real life. I mean, many patients have seen me who've seen me on YouTube and came in person, were like, "You look exactly the same." I'm like, "Yeah, this is what I look like every day." I literally
Mm.
spend 20 minutes getting ready. Like, I'm not gonna be all prepped up because that's not who I am. So, but it's very hard to do it. I mean, the first couple videos were horrendously scary to, like, hit that button and record yourself. And then even now, one of the most important lessons that you can learn on starting a YouTube channel is to watch your videos. And I still am like, "Oh God, I gotta watch this one. This is terrible." It's hard to be vulnerable to see yourself because it's very uncomfortable to do that. But I did a little bit of a mindset switch where I said, think of yourself as talking to a patient. Like when this is on, what do you tell people every day? What do you tell that patient that came in yesterday? I sort of try to think about it. I do this all day long and think about me just literally directly talking to my patient. And it just helped me to really get over myself, to not be so nervous about doing it. But it's definitely for me, I mean, you don't know this because obviously you don't know me, but I literally had horrendous stage fright in high school and college. I never went through any presentation without passing out.
Wow.
No joke. Passing out. Like in college, I can distinctly remember getting up there to do a presentation and I passed out on the ground and the teacher waited till I woke up and then she's, "You still got to do it." I'm like sweaty and like just sitting in the chair like, "My name is Jennifer." Just miserable. And so to me, I actually started a podcast first, which is the first thing I did for that and that sole purpose of just getting over my fear. And so then it evolved into turning the camera on to say, "Okay, just be you."
It's Thank you for sharing that story because I think a lot of people, they maybe see you now and they say, wow, look how eloquently she speaks and she looks like she has it together. And you're like, no, it's not always like that. It's taken practice. And it's interesting. I actually just returned from a conference where they said that people now, as far as the consumer behavior, are now craving authenticity more than ever with the introduction of AI, because AI
Mhm.
has made it so easy to polish everything up and make everything look so perfect that as viewers, we've started getting skeptical of it. And so
Yeah.
when someone shows up on camera without a perfect hair or everything's exactly perfect, it actually leads to a deeper connection with them. And so hopefully that can help people overcome the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect. Like you're going to mess up, but it's actually going to lead to better results. So I think that's so cool.
Yeah. All the time. I mean, if you watch my videos, you'll see sometimes I stumble, sometimes I'm like, it is what it is. I'm not where I want to be from speaking, but that's okay. It's progression. I'm not passing
Exactly.
out. That's like a huge progression.
For sure. I think that's one of the coolest things is too, is like that feedback loop, like you said, how you started watching your videos, which for a lot of people, including myself, like listening and hearing myself is a challenging thing to do. But as you watch it, you get to see, oh, wow, you know what? I didn't really communicate that point how I really would like to. And so now you have that feedback loop. And the next time that you try it, you're going to communicate it better and better, which is pretty
Yeah.
cool. Now, with your YouTube, tell me, because you have done online courses, you have your own business, like you do so much. But how does this YouTube channel actually fit into your business strategy?
Well, I bulk film them, so I do them all on one. I try to do 4 at a time, all on one day, so that it doesn't take time from my Monday through Friday type business. It works because sometimes you meet with a patient and the whole concept of perimenopause is just overwhelming. They don't even know where to start. So I often say, "Hey, just go to my YouTube channel, watch some of these videos, get familiar with what's going on, and then let's have a conversation about what makes sense for you. This is all brand new to you. And we're in no rush to change anything. If you feel like you just need to get more education, then here's some options for you for that." So I do think that it works hand in hand for that for my own patients, but also patients who can't see me because there might be somebody who lives in Tennessee and I'm not licensed in Tennessee. So they need to figure out how do I get prepped to ask the right questions to the provider that I'm going to be seeing. So I think that's important that it incorporates from there. From a business standpoint, obviously it takes time, right? It's takes time from your day, times from your things, but I guarantee if you're a physician, you're saying the same thing over and over again. So put it in video. Even if you don't make a YouTube channel, you just want to record yourself saying, what is a knee joint replacement? Blah, 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 blah. Then you can always have those references for your patients to be able to say, what do you mean I need my knee replaced? What does this mean? So I think there's ways to use that information over and over again because some people have to hear things 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 times before they're willing to make a decision. And so it's good to have that in your back pocket too.
It really is a no-brainer, right? Because it's scaling your time because within healthcare, you only have a limited amount of time with that patient. And if they're coming in already having some of those questions answered from videos that their provider created, then that actually will give you time to actually dive into probably the deeper and more important questions. But at the same time, it's also building your brand as a physician. Like, why is that important for you? When you get on there, are you trying to build your brand outside of just being the one-on-one clinician?
I think initially it was more for education. I started the YouTube channel for education. Now I am starting to build a brand to just because I am trained in integrative and functional medicine and OB-GYN. So I have a different spin on things than most OB-GYNs sitting on YouTube. So trying to, again, offer options to patients. So I am using it now to build a brand, to bring awareness, to obviously give people a course if they want to get more educated in the subject. And then if patients want to see me from it, great too. But it's for me, the funnel is not leading to necessarily one-on-one consults. It's more for that community, that education, and that part of it.
Sure, I got you. And so I know that you've done courses before, and then you're planning on launching a new course as well. Looking back at it, is there any things that you learned from the previous course launches that you hope to improve on this next one coming up?
Oh gosh, that list we could be here all day on the things I've learned.
What have you learned? Tell me. Teach me.
I have learned it's important to get feedback from people even in the middle of, so if you're doing, say, an 8-week course, it's important to get feedback and be willing to change things as you go. Like the last time I ran the PCOS, I ran a PCOS course several times in a row. And the last time I ran it, a patient said, it'd be great if you just gave me the information on Friday because we have the Zoom meeting on Tuesday and I have more time on the weekend than I do during the week. I was launching the weekly content on Monday, right? And so she was like, I just like it, my schedule, I have kids, I have this, I have that. I'm like, that's a great idea. Why did I not even put that into there? So then I started the weekly content would be jumped on Friday and then she'd be ready for Tuesday. So it was a great idea. And I just didn't, if I hadn't asked for feedback in the middle of it, hey, is there anything not going well? Is there anything you would change? Is there anything I can do? Then she wouldn't have said that. And everybody else was very fortunate and happy that she said something too. So that's ways that you can get feedback from real time from the clients that are in the course. I think when you're doing those courses, you have to also be very flexible that some people will participate and some people will not. And that's okay. Like you have to be okay with supporting the people that are showing up and letting go of the people that I'm not letting go, but letting go of the expectation that they should take it more investment into it. They just may not be ready. There may be things going on from that perspective. So, and you learn to automate things more as you do. The more and more you do it, you go, do I need to be available from 8 to 12? Like, I should just have these set emails and this set way that people can respond. And so you learn a little bit more to make things automated to make your life a little bit easier. And I think the first time I ran it, I was doing some traveling in the middle of it. And so I remember sitting at a hotel in New Mexico, like on the Zoom meeting. And I said, I'm so sorry, I'm not in my office and I'm not this and it doesn't look good. And they're like, we don't care. Like you could be wherever, like it's fine. So you learn as you go, like these things I think are a big deal. People don't. No one even commented until I said, I'm sorry, I'm sitting here in this hotel room in New Mexico and it's raining. And there's like, we didn't even really think about it. So I think those are
No.
things that you have to just learn to evolve. I think if you set it and forget it, then it's never going to work.
Yeah. Continuous improvement. That makes sense. And so with that course that you did, it sounded like it was a group coaching program where they got some content online, but then had access to you through these Zoom calls. As a doctor, how did you manage that? Because I hear a lot of doctors say that they're concerned from a legal standpoint of being like, I don't want them to overlap with my medical license. So how did you handle that?
Well, you make the expectations very clear when people sign up. I am not going to diagnose or treat. I'm not going to interpret your labs. I'm not going to prescribe. You make it clear at the very beginning, this is a coaching program, not a medical consultation. So patients sign waivers that literally say that, as well as for group lessons, you also have to make sure people are very clear, like it is protected. So if someone talks about something personal, you can't just go and say, did you know Mary last week on our Zoom call, blah, blah, blah. So you have to be very clear to patients or clients, however you want to describe it, that this is what we do. And you have to toe the line. I mean, definitely patients have asked on Zoom meetings, like, what do you think about my hemoglobin A1C and my PCOS? And I'm like, I can't comment on that. That's not, I can tell you in general, women who have hemoglobins of 7 should focus on insulin resistance. Like
Sure.
you have to toe that line to make sure you're not getting personalized medicine advice, because that's, again, practicing medicine. So as long as you're clear as to not only the provider providing the program as to what your lines are and you're clear to the patients, then it should go fine. You just have to be very clear as to what they should expect.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. I mean, as far as transparency in your communication, making it fully separated. I am not your doctor. I am your coach. We're not going to mix those together. And like you said, there will be situations where they are going to ask you medical related questions. And I love that, because that's what I recommend the physicians that we work with to say, you know what, in this situation, here is how I would handle it. But they don't say to their specific situation, because that's when they start crossing that line. So that makes a ton of sense.
You have to
Yeah, go ahead.
also, there are people who can do that from a perspective of they have a little bit more leeway for, I see like professional coaches that order labs and then they interpret their labs as part of their coaching program. But remember, medically, legally, you are held to the standard, the highest standard of your training. A functional coach is a different, higher standard sitting in a courtroom than a physician. So you have to be careful that you're understanding you will be held, even if you're doing a coaching program, you still will be held to the highest level of your education, because you can't take that out of your brain. You can't be like, take here, I took 16 years of being an OB-GYN and put it over here. So you do have to be careful that you're making sure that you're not doing something that could be interpreted incorrectly.
That makes sense.
If you're not sure, ask a lawyer. I mean,
That's true.
that's what you pay them for. You pay them good money to keep you on track.
Yep, that's true. That makes a lot of sense. Now, with you and your business, have you always run your own business, or when did you actually make the leap from, I don't know, clinical practice to doing your own thing?
So I was in a private practice with 10 other people for 13 years, and it was traditional medicine. So when I got trained in functional integrative medicine, it became very clear that what I was doing was different than the other 10 people in the practice. And so I was not able to practice the way that I wanted to, because again, when you're the one person and people don't get you, it makes it a little harder to do that. So I ultimately left that private practice, started a telehealth only functional gynecology practice, and ran that for 2 years, and realizing that now I'm boarded in integrative medicine, I can see men as well, and also wanted to incorporate things that needed to be a brick and mortar type option. So then I opened up my brick and mortar after that.
Okay. And then at what point did you decide to start launching a course?
So when I was doing the online telehealth company, I started immediately doing online courses, because you have to get, you have to put your brand out there. You have to put your information out there. You have to somehow tell people, who is this person? And so I started doing those classes just to get my name out there, to try to bring attention to what I was doing. Because again, there are not very many functional or integrative medicine OB-GYNs in the country. It's very unusual. So I had to do something that was more putting myself out there. And that's when I did the podcast as well, and sort of trying to get that overall online presence.
So let's take a look back at, say, Jennifer 5 years ago, or even a doctor who's currently working and looking to start being like, yeah, I want to start doing something like this. I want to start doing my own thing. What is like the first step that they should take?
I think the first step is figuring out, what does this look like? What do you like? If someone could just say, limited resources, Jen, anything you want, what would it look like to you? Because the fear, I think, when you're in traditional medicine, or really you're in a job, the fear of jumping is so hard. That fear of, oh my gosh. I mean, I had a very cush job. I made lots of good money. I cannot complain. I lived in the middle of the Midwest where there's expenses are crazy low. Everybody on paper would be like, no. I could give it to 10 doctors and they'd be like, no, that's a terrible idea. I'm sorry. You want to leave high paying job with 13 years of clients who come to see you, who love you. Your life is sweet and you live in a very cheap area and move to California with no referral network, not knowing anybody, start a functional medicine practice. Like, what is wrong with you? Right. And many people said that to me. Many colleagues said, you're abandoning us. You're a traitor to OBs. You're going to stop doing OB. I had a lot of stuff coming my way. But I literally had sat down one day and I just wrote out, what does this mean? What do I want to do? Where do I see myself? What do I want to do? And I just was like, in the end of the day, life is short. And I want to be someone who is miserable? I'm now 13 years into this practice, probably halfway in my career. Do I want to do this for the rest? I either need to make a decision to buck up and do it and be unhappy, or I need to switch. So there are a lot of bumps in the roads, and being an entrepreneur, there are a lot of like ups and downs. I've had plenty of cries. I've had plenty of wine. I've had all the things that entrepreneurs go through. But in the end, I feel like I'm doing what I was meant to do, doing what I need to do, and also showing my children most important to me is that my kids know you can always change and follow your passion. You don't have to be stuck in something. You don't have to do what you've always done just because you did it. You can follow it. You can follow it. I even joked with them, if this functional medicine thing doesn't work out, I'm going to become a national park ranger. That would be like the best job for me. Like I would love it, except for they get paid nothing, unfortunately. But that would be like a librarian or a national park ranger. That would be me if I had a second life. You know what I mean? So those things I try to teach my kids, like just follow your heart, follow your passion. At the end of the day, when people are at the end of their life, like they think about relationships, they think about purpose, they think about passion, they think about the things they did. They don't go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I made $520,000 for 10 years. No, nobody thinks like that. So you have to sort of continue to change and to decide, are you happy in what you're doing? Or do you feel like there's something you can make a difference in another way?
That is so beautiful. It really is. And it's a beautiful mindset that I think makes sense for a lot of people, but sometimes they have challenge of actually taking the leap to go and make those changes, because oftentimes they're in a job, like you said, it's well paying and they may not even hate the job, but there might be a little fire like down in them that they're trying to identify. What is that feeling that I want something more or I want something different? And I think it's really important, like you did, is to take the time to spend with introspection and seeing what is that fire and how do I want to ignite it. And it seems like you did it in a very scary but beautiful way to create these opportunities for yourself. So I think that's really amazing.
And it helps to have a wonderful, supportive partner. I mean, I literally came home and I said, honey, this is not going to work for me long term. I really want to move. And I think I have to move to Colorado or California. Are you game? And he's like, all right. You know what I mean? Like my husband, I'm so incredibly fortunate because my husband believes in me. I believe in him. So that helps a lot. I mean, like I'm lucky. Like I said, oh, I'm going to move all 4 children to a non-financially savvy decision to go to California. And he's driving. You know what I mean? Like he's just one of those people. So I'm lucky. And then I have a great partner who believes in me, which is really important.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, let's go back. I want you to mentor again. So now someone said, okay, you know what, Jen, this makes sense. Like there's a fire that's underneath me, but I can't just quit my job and move right now. What can I do in the meantime to at least start getting momentum towards that future?
Find somebody who's doing what you want to do. I get calls a lot from OB-GYNs or not people who are like, I really want to do it. Or not even, I have a family practice lady who called me last week who just found me and was like, can you tell me? And the tide lifts all ships. And I just feel like find the person, reach out to the person, find somebody. I mean, it would be great if it was like a business mentor, right? That they can continue to help you foster that. But if it's not, just to release all those fears in front of them, right? Because they've made those mistakes. I currently have a person who graduated from the Andrew Weil program who's a friend of mine, and he calls me probably every 2 or 3 months, and he's like, what do you think about this? I'm like, everybody's telling me this. I said, you can do this. You're awesome. You can do this. I know you can. You're brilliant. And he is. He's amazing. So you need somebody in your corner. You need those people. That's the hardest part, is finding your people. So once you find your people, you're going to go so much further. So I would say the first step would be find somebody in the job you want, find somebody in doing what you want to do, and reach out to them. And they may not be receptive. I've certainly reached out to people who were not friendly. We're like not interested. And that's fine. Go find somebody else. That person, because they've made the mistakes ahead of you. So learn from the mistakes they've made.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're going to go a lot further if you don't go in alone, which is really cool. Someone just gave me a recent analogy that I was listening to. They were talking about how if you look at a forest and you compare the trees in a densely compact forest compared to one that's out in the field by itself, the one in the field that's by itself will grow taller faster. However, the density of it will not be there, because it didn't have the resources in the community around it to grow dense and build a strong foundation. And that's what's actually going to lead to success for whatever it is that we're trying to do. With you now in this point of your career, what does the next 1 to 3 years look like for you?
Well, I would like to continue to make my clinic as efficient and as great as possible, and not work for my clinic, but really try to be almost like a standing clinic without me, and provide. And for me, trying to get the message out is my personal development goal. Like I'm going to speak this summer at the Integrative Medicine Conference in Colorado. So continuing to do speaking things to get that information out there, to give information to either providers or the public about perimenopause and menopause, and just try to continue to develop personally in that role. And I think we have an uphill battle in women's health and education, where as physicians, we tend to be very nervous about being online. And yet then we have some young person who has no education, who's jumping up and down in a bikini, telling people to eat spearmint tea to solve all their problems. So we have a big problem in education. And to be honest, if you're in women's health, you need to be part of the movement for research, because it wasn't until mid-90s that women were required to be in clinical trials. So many drugs were approved without a single woman in that trial, because it was not required to do, because we're too complicated. So we need to push the envelope. We need to stop having 15 Viagras, but 2 drugs for female sexual health wellness, which are not that great of drugs. So like there needs to be this push into research for women's health. And I think it helps with more people in that space who are like demanding that we have good options for our patients.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the research and the advocacy, and that's you getting out there and advocating for the profession. I had a recent conversation with Dr. Jocelyn Fitzgerald, who's a urogynecological surgeon, and she was breaking down for me how there is bias built into the healthcare system and the way that it reimburses, even in that an equal procedure for a man versus a woman, the hospital's actually going to make less money on the procedure for the woman. And when a hospital is designed to keep the doors open and keep running, where are they going to be more incentivized to put their resources? And there's a reason why you were talking about there's more medications for men than there is for women. And I commend you so much for being brave and getting yourself out there and making a difference, where now you've reached millions of people who hopefully being able to make an impact in their life. So I think you're doing amazing work, and I'm really excited to see where you take it from here.
Yeah. I'm on the front lines and I want to bring more people with me. So any women's health people, I'm happy to talk. Anybody. I get calls and I'm happy to help other people just figure out what moves them. I mean, what drives you? What moves you? For me, I think about my 13-year-old daughter and I'm like, how am I going to make a different future for her? I mean, some of the stuff is crazy. Like she's in her puberty class or whatever. And I was just shocked that the whole class was asked by the teacher, if a girl got pregnant, whose fault is it? Is it the woman's? Is it the girls or the boys? And it was a 50-50 split. And it wasn't based on gender. It wasn't like more boys said boys, or like it wasn't there. And I asked her immediately, did they ask if a girl got pregnant? Is it like, did they ask about the boy? Was the conversation at all about the boy? No. If the girl got pregnant, whose fault is it? What about if the boy got the girl pregnant? Whose fault is it? I was just sort of, and this is sex ed in California, right? Like, you would think they're more open-minded. And I just was, what? Right? I mean, we have a long way to go in women's health education, even with education on the whole, her telling me about all the, what a period is and all this. And so, of course, my daughter can teach the class, right? Because she's heard all this stuff from me, but it's still astounding. And so I do that because I sit here and think about all the 16-year-old or 17-year-olds or 18-year-old women that I've seen over the years who would ask these questions. And now it's clicking to go, God, our education on women's reproductive health is terrible. You know what I mean? They're asking these questions because they're not getting that information. I'm driven by those things to change, to make sure that these conversations are out there and they're open for everybody.
It's a beautiful mission. And I think that, like you said, we still got a long way to go, but we've come a long way so far. And I think we're actually in the middle of a very big movement where there is these women in medicine that are getting out there and be like, nah, not anymore. We're gonna start telling the truth about what's going on. And it's such a cool thing to witness and then hopefully support. So I think it's amazing what you're doing. If someone wants to learn more about you, even watch your YouTube or just stay in contact with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
So my YouTube channel is Dr. Jen MD. So they can go to the YouTube channel. I have a website that I'm still finishing for me personally, which is my name, drjenniferroelands.com. And then obviously my company name is Precision Health MD. So either one of those avenues is completely fine. And there's ways to email through there if you're an email person and not a DM or whatever. I'm on Instagram, but there are certainly ways to sort of find me through those avenues.
That's amazing. Awesome. Well, Jen, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me. That was a super valuable conversation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to the Med Story podcast. Really appreciate you spending the time to sit down with us. If you are a physician that's building your brand or business and has a story to share, make sure to go to medstorymedia.com/podcast and apply to be a guest. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.